For many centuries, humanity strove to prevent an ecological crisis by investing significant resources into the development of genetic technologies. However, the attempt proved unsuccessful. Artificially created viruses and organisms broke free, destroying vegetation, animals, and a significant portion of the population. Now, power is concentrated in the hands of oligarchs who rule closed cities known as citadels, where strict population control and the latest technologies are employed for survival. Outside these citadels, people fight daily for their lives and sustenance. They plant seeds bought from the citadels, but these plants are programmed to yield only one harvest. The main character, Vesper, along with a flying drone controlled by her father, roams the mud in search of edible roots. Finding some provisions, she carefully returns home, avoiding the tentacles, predatory plants protruding from the ground. Inside her modest home, she prepares a nutritious mixture, which she then carefully transfers into a special bag. This bag is hung next to her bedridden father so he can receive the necessary nutrients through a tube. Vesper is also deeply interested in biotechnology and actively conducts her own experiments. After feeding her father, she heads to her laboratory, accompanied by the drone controlled by her father through telepathic communication. In the laboratory, Vesper converses with a mummy dried by time and gathers the necessary tools and equipment for her scientific research. Suddenly, her attention is drawn to a suspicious noise outside. The source of the noise turns out to be one of the pilgrim sick people who wander around the area, collecting various debris and taking it somewhere. Returning home, Vesper notices that someone has destroyed the predatory plants that were supposed to protect the territory. With a knife in hand, she cautiously sneaks into the house but finds no one inside. However, some things have been damaged, including the electric generator that supports her father's life support system. The girl sets out to seek help in the nearest settlement. There, she witnesses a horrifying scene. The local residents, with obvious signs of genetic mutations on their faces. Jonas orders the body to be removed and approaches Vesper, his niece. Vesper asks her uncle for the necessary parts for repairs, but he refuses to help for free, citing hard times. In response, Vesper offers her blood in exchange for the needed parts, knowing that Jonas uses it for trading with the Citadel. Jonas agrees, but tells her that he can pay her in a few days after selling the blood. However, Vesper's father cannot wait that long, and she insists on an immediate exchange. Jonas refuses and roughly throws her out, where his children mock her. Later, Vesper decides to return to the village to sneak in unnoticed. As she tries to quietly enter the house, she is noticed by one of Jonas's children, the same boy who took her blood from her finger. However, he says nothing and lets her proceed with her plan. Besides the generator parts, Vesper also steals seeds that her uncle had unsuccessfully tried to grow. On her way back, she sees a glider falling from the sky, but does not give it much thought. Returning home, she shows the stolen seeds to her father, explaining that she wants to try to genetically unlock them so they can reproduce naturally. The next day, while wandering through the forest, the girl finds a wounded woman, who, judging by her clothes, has come from the Citadel. The woman is already surrounded by blood-sucking plants. Noticing that the stranger is still alive, Vesper carefully removes the blood-sucking tendrils and drags her body home. There, she thoroughly treats the wounds and removes parasites, striving to save the woman's life. Vesper's father expresses his displeasure at her bringing a stranger into the house, but the heroine is confident that she did the right thing. She believes that the rescued woman might be her ticket to a better life within the walls of the Citadel. At this time, the woman, named Chamelia, regains consciousness and secretly hides a knife under the pillow. Chamelia asks Vesper where her companion is and insists on searching for him. Despite her father's warnings, Vesper promises to find the second passenger, but postpones the search until morning, considering nighttime excursions in the forest dangerous. In the evening, Vesper tries to feed her guest, but Chamelia refuses to eat the soup with larvae and caterpillars, even though Vesper chose the juiciest ones. Chamelia explains that her father holds a high position and can help them if they find him in the forest. In response, Vesper shares the story of her own father, who was a soldier of the Citadel until he was injured. The drone her father controls is all he received for his service. Suddenly, Vesper's sick father has a seizure. Unexpectedly, Chamelia calms him down with a kiss, after which he falls into a deep sleep. Vesper is surprised but grateful for the help. In the morning, Vesper and her drone set out to find the crashed glider. Following a trail of debris, they find the craft in a low area. Vesper is about to open the door when Jonas and his men appear. Seeing the injured man from the Citadel inside, Jonas, instead of helping, mercilessly strangles him and takes the body with him, despite his niece's tears and pleas. Realizing there must be a second passenger somewhere, Jonas asks Vesper if she has seen anyone. The girl lies to protect Chamelia. Returning home, she also lies to her guest, saying she found nothing important. At night, Vesper takes Chamelia to her garden, where her experimental plants grow. She wants to demonstrate her genetic skills, hoping Chamelia will speak well of her in the Citadel. In the house, Vesper talks about her mother, who once fell ill and left with the pilgrims. Later, they look at a book about animals together. Chamelia, who grew up in more favorable conditions, tells Vesper about the habits of extinct creatures, sharing knowledge about a world the girl has never known. She also tries to explain that if the Citadels open their doors to everyone, there simply won't be enough resources for all. After discussing with her father the need to call people from the Citadel for Chamelia, Vesper decides to sneak into her uncle's house the next day, where the only transmitter in the area is located. She sends the drone for reconnaissance, but it falls into Jonas's hands. When Vesper arrives at her uncle's house, she sees Jonas dismantling the drone. He immediately asks why his niece is gone and whether she knows who stole his seeds because of this. He even had to punish his son, who was on duty that day. Frightened by his threatening tone, Vesper seizes the first opportunity to grab the drone and flee. Jonas, wasting no time, whistles to signal his sons to pursue her. In the forest, Vesper tries to launch the drone, but after Jonas's tampering, it barely maintains balance and crashes into a ravine. Jonas's sons, sent to catch her, appear. They begin to chase Vesper and eventually capture her. While two of them hold her, the third brands her hand with a hot iron. Back home, Vesper is depressed and tries to fix the drone. Chamelia comforts Vesper, and eventually the girl confesses that her father, the glider's second passenger, is dead. She leads her guest into the woods, to the swamp where his body lies. Vesper notices a scar on Chamelia's back and realizes that she is a unique artificially created jag, endowed with a full consciousness and personality, which distinguishes her from the others. Chamelia, along with her creator, has been on the run for breaking the law on sentient jags. Vesper realizes that Chamelia cannot take her back to the Citadel as she herself cannot return there. This enrages the girl, and she throws mud at the woman in a fit of rage. Back at her father's house, Vesper tells him what happened. Her father warns her that she should run anyway, as Jonas has marked her as prey and will surely punish her for stealing. While they are talking, Chamelia is in the other room trying to kill herself with a hidden knife, but is unsuccessful. Hearing a cry of pain, Vesper comes running and prevents Chamelia from finishing what she started. They reconcile, and Vesper asks Chamelia for permission to examine her genetic material. She finds a locked code in Chamelia's DNA, similar to that found in the seeds of plants that have been deprived of the ability to reproduce. Chamelia, in parallel, tells her that her creator treated her not as a daughter, but as a spouse. Remembering her creator, Chamelia begins to play a local instrument similar to a psaltery. Unexpectedly, her DNA reacts to certain musical notes, and Vesper manages to unlock the genetic code thanks to these sounds. Inspired by her success, Vesper adds Chamelia's genetic material to the seeds, which removes the blockage on their reproduction. Such a discovery fundamentally changes the entire system of commodity market relations, and through the disruption of the economy, the entire established world order. Upon learning of the significance of this discovery, Vesper's father insists that she travel with Chamelia to another citadel and exchange the unlocked seeds for a safe haven. To complete her experiments, Vesper heads to the lab. At this time, Jonas arrives at the house and catches Chamelia there. He demands that she come with him, threatening to kill her sick brother otherwise. He will leave them alone in exchange for unlocked seeds. This will provide him with a steady harvest and save him from having to collect blood from the children to trade with the Citadel. Jonas agrees to the deal, but upon returning to the village, he contacts the Citadel via the transmitter and reports the escaped Jag. In the evening, while Vesper is working on her scientific experiments, the house is suddenly attacked. At first, a substance resembling rapidly growing mold seeps through the crack under the door. People try to escape it by climbing onto the table, but the mold continues to spread, filling the entire space. At the last moment, the strange mold suddenly stops and begins to evaporate, releasing a toxic but quickly dispersing gas. Realizing that soldiers will soon follow, Vesper's father orders Vesper and Chamelia to run to the garden, while he stays behind to try to convince his former colleagues that no one else is in the house. Meanwhile, as soldiers approach Jonas's house, they shoot him in the head without warning, eliminating him as an unwanted witness. As they approach the generator, the drone intercepts them. A subsequent explosion kills both the soldiers and Vesper's father. Seeing the flames and realizing that her father is dead, Vesper, in tears, tries to run back, but Chamelia holds her and calms her down. They continue their way to the garden, but silent enforcers from the Citadel are already following them. Vesper, knowing the area and the characteristics of the vegetation, uses this to her advantage, leading one of the pursuers into a trap between red bushes. If disturbed, these bushes release a swarm of aggressive fireflies that attack the intruder. The plan works. The first soldier falls into the trap, but the second soldier, noticing the danger, bypasses the bushes and continues to search for the runaways. The girls hide behind the bushes, but soon a plant emitting a loud squeak gives them away. The soldier returns, and a fierce fight ensues. Vesper manages to smear mud on the visor of his helmet, causing the soldier to drop his weapon. Picking up the gun, Vesper doesn't know how to fire it but quickly thinks to throw it into the bushes. The disturbed swarm of fireflies rises from the thicket and attacks the startled soldier. Chamelia, realizing that the soldiers will not stop pursuing them, decides to return and surrender. Vesper, in tears, begs her to stay and not leave her alone. But Chamelia, understanding the necessity of her decision, uses a sleeping kiss to put the girl to sleep. Covering Vesper with dry leaves, she goes to the garden, where she is soon found by the soldiers. Waking up in the forest on the cold ground, Vesper returns to the ashes where her home once stood. She plants a few seeds in the charred soil, hoping something new will grow from them. At that moment, 4 of Jonah's children, miraculously surviving the night raid, approach her. When Vesper sets out in search of a new citadel, the children decide to follow her. Together, they travel across the country, joining a procession of pilgrims carrying collected trash in a direction known only to them. After a few days, the travelers arrive at a huge man-made tower of junk, built by the pilgrims, who have set up a tent city at its base. Approaching the tower, Vesper realizes that her journey is almost complete. Leaving her companions below, she begins to climb the fragile structure of the tower. Nearly falling in the process, she finally reaches the top, where there is an observation deck overlooking the surrounding forests. Looking around, Vesper notices the giant domes of the new citadel nearby. However, instead of climbing down and heading there, she takes out the unlocked seeds and throws them to the wind. The wind carries the seeds, scattering them over the surrounding lands. Vesper hopes that these seeds will give rise to new vegetables and fruits that will eventually spread across the land. With that, her journey ends, and the film concludes. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.